반갑습니다. 네. Hi guys. Hello. Hello. Yuha in the back. Hello. Hi. Wave. Thank you very much. All right. 영광. Oh, I see you, Samuel. I see you. See you. 라설이 안녕. 안녕. Guys, I'm so grateful, and of course the praise team, the youth group, and parents. So grateful that you're able to make it tonight. As I always do, I have a little story for you, and this story takes about a few years of a person's lifetime, but I'm gonna try to get through it in minutes. Okay? So there was a young boy. There was a young boy. With many brothers. With many brothers. And then this boy happened to be the very last born. So he was the youngest of all his brothers. And his brothers happened to be big, strong, and handsome. And everybody liked them. All his brothers are really good looking, really strong, really just very appropriate everywhere they go, and just very good, right? So, this little boy, right, whenever things happen, it was all, you know what, let's talk to my firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, fourthborn. But this little boy is never considered to be anybody in his family, right? So, he was given a role, while everyone else is tending to important stuff, he was given a role to go to tend to some sheep. Okay? So, when everyone else is doing important stuff, this little boy with his little staff would be out in the field tending to the sheep of his father. And he was okay with it. He was great with it. You know what? He was all alone, just by himself and the sheep, but he had faith in God. This little boy knew wherever he went, God was with him, and God protected him, and God guided his life. Okay? So, he would actually face bears. Okay. Kids, do you know what bears are? This might be a very, not a very, hey, we know what bears are. Okay, do you know how big bears are? Okay, here, kids, none of you here are as big as me, right? But compare me to a bear would be, right? One swing of bear's arm would make me go fly about 10, 20 feet, and I'll be, right? That bear. This little young boy, met a bear. But he was not afraid. He was never afraid because he had faith in God. And his faith was real, and God's protection and God's guidance was real also. So God helped this boy defeat the bear and protect his sheep. Not only bears, but sometimes lions. Okay? When's the last time you've seen a lion in a zoo? Sometime last year? Sometime this year? Maybe? Okay? The lions that you see in the zoo are captives. Okay? They don't have much power. They're always laying around, right? But think about it. A hungry lion. Huge. It's a cat times a gazillion. Right? Huge. No human being can withstand the power of a lion. But different with this boy. This boy still was not afraid. Because of what? He had faith in God. Fast forward some time. This boy was faced with an entire army of a nation. Okay? So this boy stood before thousands of enemies, and there stood one giant one. And this boy, hey, listen carefully, this boy, Goliath, okay, this boy was never afraid. Actually, in fact, this boy was very angry. He was very angry. He's like, look at these enemies and look at that warrior. He is defiling. He is making fun of God's army. He's making fun of God's name. Why is no one standing up to it? So this boy goes, you know what? I'll do something about it. There's no way I'm letting some non-believing God people making fun of my God, fun of our God, right? So he goes and then he fights, and then what happens? He is victorious. And we all know, and this boy knows, it's not his own doing, but it is because, who is with him? Who is with him? God is with him. And this man, this boy, his name was, everybody, 1, 2, 3, his name was? No, come on, guys, we know this. This boy's name was? David. That's correct. So this David, who stood up in thousands of enemies of Philistines and the warrior named Goliath, had no fear, had zero fear. In fact, when the king Saul offered him armor and sword, what did the boy say? He put it on, but he couldn't even move because it was so big. So he says, I don't need these because I have my God protecting me. I have my God, that's right. I have my God by my side. Okay? So that is the David that we all know and we come to love. Okay? But I want all of us to fast forward a few years. After David had won that battle, after God allowed David to win that battle, he became a mighty warrior. Wherever he went in battle, he was victorious. Because why? Not because David, but because of God. So, he would go into battle and he would be victorious. And the people, they loved him. Because wherever David went, they won. Who wouldn't like winning? Everyone loves winning. So they loved David, and David's popularity grew and grew and grew. And then there was a man kind of standing in the side and looking at what is all going on. His name was King Saul. Now, King Saul saw that David's popularity was growing beyond his own. So Saul became so jealous. He made up his mind. I am going to kill David. I don't care if he brings me victory. I don't care if it is good for my country for David to go into battle. I do not care. I do not want David to continue growing in popularity over me. So Saul definitely decides in his heart, and he starts to act on it. And David had no other option but to flee from Saul. And this is what happened when David was fleeing Saul. Today's passage comes from 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1 through 9. David went to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" David answered Ahimelech the priest, "The king sent me on a mission, and he said to me, 'No one is to know anything about the mission I am sending you on. As for my men, I have told them to meet me at a certain place. Now then, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread, or whatever you can find.'" David is all alone. David has no food. David has nothing. But the priest answered David, I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there is some consecrated bread here, provided the men have kept themselves from women. David replied, indeed, women have been kept from us as usual whenever I set out. The men's bodies are holy, even on missions that are not holy. How much more so today? So the priest gave him the consecrated bread, since there was no bread there except the bread of the presence that had been removed from before the Lord and replaced by hot bread on the day it was taken away. Now, one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before the Lord. He was Doeg, the Edomite, Saul's chief shepherd. David asked Ahimelech, don't you have a spear or a sword here? I haven't brought my sword or any other weapon because the king's mission was urgent. The priest replied, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no sword here but that one. David said, there is none like it. Give it to me. So David, fleeing Saul, has nothing. He just basically he fled with his clothes on his back. That's all he had, and he fled to Nob, and then he went to the priest and asked for some bread. And while they're asking for bread, what did he ask for? What else did he ask for? He asked for a sword or a spear, a weapon. Now, nothing seems wrong. You're supposed to flee the king, right? You're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to ask for bread. You're supposed to ask if they're able to provide the things that you need to protect yourself. But if you look at this situation and the situation when he faced Goliath, something's a little off. Something is a little off. When he was facing thousands of enemies and then a great warrior, all he thought about was God. How good God is, how powerful God is, and how his name is being made fun of. And he had no fear in his heart because he knew God was with him. But now he's fleeing, and listen to what David says. Listen to what David says when Ahimelech the priest offers him the sword of Goliath. He goes, hey, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped in cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no sword but that one. David says, there is none like it. Give it to me. Remember when King Saul offered David his armor and his sword? What did David say? I doesn't work for me. I don't need it. Because who is with him? God is with him. But now he is eagerly searching. To be honest with you, even right now, as grown up as David is, he is not close to Goliath. And Goliath was so big, do you think his sword was small? No, his sword was very, very big too. And it probably didn't fit David. But to David, oh my gosh, yes, it's perfect. I need it. It's mine. Give it to me. I'm going to use it. Now, at this moment, David, in David's sight, sorry to say, of all the protection, of all the victories that God has given him, right now, he doesn't have God in his sight. He doesn't have God in his mind. He doesn't have the same faith that he had going before the enemy of God, going before the bear, before the lion. Right now, he feels like oh my gosh, King Saul is going to kill me. I need whatever I can do, whatever I can find to protect myself and to run away from this king. And when he's doing that, because his eyes are now closed to what he may need, what he needs to do, he misses this part. When I read the passage today, it was mostly about the conversation between David and the priest Ahimelech. But we see that in verse 7, there is like an insert. Okay? Now, one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before the Lord. He was Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief shepherd. Now, we do not understand as of right now what this means, but in just 2 chapters, we understand what that means. This Saul's servant would go and tell Saul what had happened with the priest and the David. The entire town is wiped out. Meaning, all the priests were killed, all the women were killed, all the children were killed, all the cattle were killed because of Saul's anger toward Ahimelech the priest, because he helped him, not knowing that he was going against the king's will. This happened. And you know what the saddest thing is? When David hears what had happened at Nob, because at that time, David is already fled to somewhere else. You know what David said? This is terrifying to me. David said, "Oh, I knew that guy was going to do that." David knew that Doeg, Saul's servant, was there that day. David saw him. But because his eyes were so covered, because he was so fearful, because his priority was me, myself, and I need to go out, keep on fleeing, he did not do anything. And this tragedy came to this city. And I want to ask you guys a question, okay? Now, is God different? Is God different when David was facing the Philistines and the Goliath? And now that he's fleeing from King Saul, has God lost his power? No. How about this? Then, when David was facing Goliath, definitely God was with David. But now that he's fleeing King Saul, is God not with David? Is God somewhere else, over there somewhere, far from David? Is that why David now was trembling in fear and he couldn't really have the confidence that God is going to protect him and trust him, like when he was facing Goliath? No. God is still the same God. And we know this because God rescues David from Saul's hand. And God eventually makes David the king of Israel, right? So it's the same God. Then what's different? If God is the same, then what changed? What changed, guys? What changed? It's me that changed. It's David that changed, right? Whatever the circumstance may be. And I don't want to stand here and criticize David for how could you do this? This is such a... No. A king of a nation is after him. It's not a small matter. It really is a life and death, and really is one man against a nation. So David is going through this by himself. How hard can it be? How hard do you think it's going to be? It's going to be a lot harder than whatever that I will face in my lifetime. That's for sure. So I don't want to criticize David here too much. But what I want all of us to understand is God does not change. The God that gave David victory is the same God that is with him even when he is fleeing. But the difference is this. Difference is David was thinking about God when he was facing Goliath. But now when he's fleeing Saul, he's thinking about himself. He's thinking about himself. It's almost like he's becoming Goliath. You know, he's taking Goliath's sword to take might in what? Might in weapon, to take might in size and strength, instead of taking his strength from God. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, life would hit us. Life would hit us in many different occasions in life. Okay? And I am not sure where you guys are. And maybe you guys have experienced victory like David had against Goliath. Meaning, you had that intimate relationship with God and you're so sure of, yes, God is with me. That's right, with God, there's nothing I cannot do. And I will trust God. I know that He's going to protect me. He's going to guide me. Okay, who has felt that before in your life? Don't raise your hand, but just kind of nod. If you felt that, kind of nod, okay? Have you felt on the same hand? Yes, I felt it. On the same hand, have you felt like, oh my gosh, I am here all by myself? There's no one that understands me. There's no one that truly cares for me. There's no one that is going to guide me. I am all by myself. The sad thing is, or the difficult thing is, I hope that we go through these. We will definitely, I pray that we definitely go through these victories with God, through God, provided by God, with Him. But even when we go through that lonely times, the times like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Guys, we cannot forget. It's the same God that gave us victory is still with us. Same God that cared for me He still cares for me. Same God that was with me is still with me. Same God that guided me is still guiding me. No matter what happens in life, and it's really hard to just say it, but even when David here, fleeing the king of a nation that he served so loyally, even when he's fleeing that, we have to understand God is still with David. And God is still with us. No matter where we are in life, and we cannot forget and make that kind of mistake where David made that mistake. It's a tragedy. I don't want, it's really a tragedy. It's because, I believe, it's because his sight was taken away from God by his circumstance. I cannot put it any other way. Because he knew that Saul's servant was there. He knew something was going to happen. He knew that Doeg, is going to go tell Saul. But because he was all by himself, because he had power, he didn't have any power, he left them. to tend to his own life. You know, when we have faith in God, when we have peace in God, when we have confidence in God, guys, not only is our life guided and protected by God, it happens all around us, to the people, those around us. So I want all of us to remember, guys, if you think maybe you're in a very, very difficult situation, and you're like, I don't see him. He's not here. I got to do whatever I need to do. If you're thinking that, take a little break. Just take a little break and remind yourself of the victory that God had given you in the past. Remind yourself. If only David reminded himself, wait a minute. No, the victory I had with Goliath was not because I had a bigger sword. If only he could remember, no, the victory that I had was because of God. And that God is still with me. The circumstance may not change, okay? Saul still chasing him, still trying to kill him. But the mindset and how he approaches his life as a refuge may have been different. And this tragedy at Nob maybe could have been prevented. Okay? And it is in our lives as well. Guys, don't ever forget, okay? Don't ever forget God cares for you. Don't ever forget God protects you and God will guide you. And do you know how I know this? Because Jesus died and because Jesus is alive. We can ask, God, can you prove, how can I trust this God? God, I don't know how much God loves me. I don't know, does he really love me? And God rips out his own heart. Actually, it's more precious than his own heart. Our children are more precious than us, right? God gives us his own child for us. Guys, he will not let you down. Guys, he will not let you out of his sight, because God is an unchanging God. God is a faithful God. God is a powerful God. God is a wise God. And God is a loving God that died for you. So he will never, ever leave you, no matter what the circumstance may be. Even when David, going through this, God had protected him, and God still made him king as he intended. Guys, so this is a very joyful story. This is a very remindful story. I don't think that's a word. Sorry. But, guys, don't ever forget. This is very, very important, because I forget too. So from time to time, you know what? I feel like, how come no one understands me? How come, like, I'm with all these people, and but at times I'm like, oh my gosh, I am all by myself. But that, guys, is a lie of our feeling, of my feeling. It's not true at all. No matter how much I think is true, it's a lie, because God is with us. No matter where we are, no matter what we're going through. Okay? So, guys, I hope you guys enjoy the victory in God. I hope you get to endure through the hard times, but with God, so that in the end, we will share in God's victory. Okay? 짧게 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. 우리 다윗이 어린 시절에 그렇게 하나님을 믿으면서, 하나님을 의지하면서 그 팔레스타인 군대를 바라보면서 정말 자신감 있게 나아갔던 그 모습, 그리고 경험했던 하나님 안에서 경험했던 그 승리, 하나님의 정말 도우심과 보호하심과 하나님의 능력, 그런 것들이 어느 순간인가 지금 이 시점에서 오늘 사무엘상 21장에서는 보이지 않고 있었죠. 사무엘상 21절에 보니까 다윗이 그 프리스트에게 가서 거짓말을 하죠. 거짓말을 해서 빵을 얻고 또 골리앗이 사용했던 그 칼도 얻으면서 너무 좋아하고, 그런 모습을 보면서 그가 얼마나 힘든 상황을 go through 할까를 먼저 생각을 했어요. 정말 얼마나 힘들면 그 다윗이 하나님이 보이지 않을까. 그런데 그럴 수 있잖아요, 여러분. 정말 너무 힘들면 하나님이 잠깐 안 보일 때 저희도 있잖아요. 근데 그럼에도 불구하고 저희가 우리 자녀들, 그리고 저희도 마찬가지고 다시 한번 리마인드해서 우리가 힘들 때도 그 하나님이 함께 하시고, 우리가 승리를 겪었을 때도 함께 하신 그 하나님, 능력의 하나님, 좋으신 하나님, 사랑의 하나님, 그 하나님이 힘들고 어려울 때도 저희와 함께 하시다는 거 잊지 마시고, 잊지 마셨으면 좋겠습니다. 그래서 저희 오늘 기도할 첫 번째 기도 제목은 이거예요. 저기 찬양팀이 아직 올라오기 전인데, 찬양팀이 올라오면서 준비를 할 때 잠깐 이런 기도를 했으면 좋겠어요. 하나님, 우리 아이들이, 부모님들에게 특별히 부탁드리는 겁니다. 하나님, 우리 아이들이 하나님 안에서 승리를 경험하게 해주세요. 하나님의 정말 함께하심, 하나님의 도우심, 정말 하나님의 능력을 체험하는 그런 순간들을 우리 아이들에게 꼭 더해 주세요. 지금 그런 기도를 잠시 하면서 우리 찬양팀 올라오도록 하겠습니다.